it's such a privilege to make this presentation to everyone, and I'm really looking forward to folks learning and able to use some of these things. One of my motivation for this particular presentation is the fact that sometimes some of the things we have learned over the years, it's sometimes you just have this assumption that people already know it, or perhaps you already everybody knows it. So where you want to move to more complex things and all of that, but then later I did a rethink. I realized that sometimes everybody had a beginning. I remember my own beginning with Excel sometimes in 2003, I guess. Yeah, I think that was 2003, something like that. Yeah, 2003, something around that period. All right, so that was about my first experience with Excel, trying to use it to analyze analysis of variance. I remember that was my first motivation to use Excel for analysis of variance in one of our statistics courses. And and what sparked it for me was when somebody showed me how to use the fill tool, how to fill down, drag the fill what's it called, icon, and then drag down. And I was like, wow, so this thing can do this. And from there, I started exploring. So my motivation for this is to see the fact that sometimes you don't always have to focus on the very complex things. Even the simple ones, you realize that there's somebody who needs to also learn this. All right. So I'll go straight into the presentation, and looking forward to a very, very wonderful time with everybody. So I'd like to introduce myself for those who may be meeting me for the first time. I'm Omishile Kehinde. I'm a data and research analyst. I currently work with an NGO as the head of management information systems. Pretty much what I do every day is analytics, work on business solutions, sometimes web applications or mobile applications. Yeah, all of those things still revolve around data collection and data management. And of course, we manage a lot of information systems, and we do a lot of training within the organization. So that's kind of a summary of everything I do. Okay, and then of course we support the senior management with data so that they can make very good decisions. All right, so basically that's what I'm privileged to do every day. All right, so that's just briefly about me. So today we're going to be looking at the text function. I'm going to be sharing my screen.
Hi, okay, sorry.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I can't really hear you loudly, and I think somebody else also mentioned the same thing. So I don't know if it's just, meanwhile, another person, another can confirm that I can hear you clearly.
Okay, that's strange. Wow.
Yes, sorry to bump. I can hear you clearly.
Please go ahead.
This is a lot.
You can hear me clearly. Okay, thank you.
Yes, please.
Okay, it's probably from me then. So
perhaps.
Yeah, you can go ahead. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much. All right, so I'll just share my screen right away. Screen one. Okay. Okay, so the whole thing is rolling and it's waiting. Okay, so as I mentioned that this is, can you confirm that you can see my screen? I'm showing Excel right now. Can you see that? Please, I would really love somebody to confirm that you can see my screen. I'm showing Excel, this Excel page right now. You may please unmute and confirm that so that I will know. Sorry, I really need you to confirm that you can see my screen.
Yes, we can see your screen.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
I can see.
All right, so
somewhere.
yeah, I was trying to compile. So I'll come back to that. So we're going to be talking about the text function. I was trying to compile some of the videos I've watched online about the text function, and So that's what I started doing this evening. I felt like, okay, I could also put some of these things here so that when I share this workbook, others can go to some of those videos online, and look at what others have also done with the text function. So that's what I was compiling before 8 o'clock. But I will definitely put it all together as much as I can before I share the workbook. All right, so the text function is one of the native functions. It's pretty much an old function in Excel. If you look at this section where you have the text, all right, it's one of these functions that you have in the text section here, just somewhere right here. Okay, so that's the text function, and I'll talk about the arguments it takes and all of those. All right, so the text function, an overview of that, the text function takes just 2 arguments, and the 2 arguments are compulsory. All right, if any of them is missing, it returns an error. The 2 arguments are compulsory, and what it does is most of the time it uses to convert mostly numbers and number variants. Number variants will include date and time, etc. All right, and then it gives you a text using a specified format. And I need you to also remember that whatever the text function gives you is text. You can't use it in any other calculation except a calculation that uses mainly texts. Okay, for instance, you can convert a number to text and then put other text functions on it, like maybe left or right and all of that. And one of the lovely things we enjoy, which became a shocker for us when we moved to Power Query, was that Excel implicitly converts numbers from one data type to another, from text to numbers. So when you now try such things as text.start in Power Query or text.end and all of that, you realize you have to convert that into text first. It was a bit of a shocker, but we are learning. We're really catching up. All right, so it takes a value, mostly a number, and then converts that to a text format that you determine. So let's do an overview of that, some of the things that you can use the text function to do. I'm showing you on my screen now some of the types of conversions that you can use the text function for, like currency. Okay, so sorry, these are all random numbers. So anytime I click in and out of a cell, you'll see that they will change. All right, like currency. Okay, I'm trying to convert this to text, and then you have text of C3. Okay, and then I had this symbol, this Naira symbol I got from the insert function. Let me just do that first, since I would need the Naira symbol. So I'll go to insert symbol first, and then put that symbol somewhere here. Close that, so I can just copy it. Okay, copy that. All right, so I'll do text of this. All right, then everything you need, the formatting, all right, must always be in quotes. A begin quotes, that's double quotation, and one at the end. That's the format for converting from a number or number variants into text. All right, so I want to convert this to Naira, so I'll paste the Naira that I copied, and then perhaps put 0 there as a placeholder for the Naira. And I'll explain the placeholders shortly. So, but here you go, and then convert it to text that way. So basically, that is how to convert. So you can use, but the challenge you need to understand here is that it doesn't take all symbols. There are cases where you want to put another symbol in front, and then it will return an error. For instance, perhaps I want to change this from that N, and then I just want to write Naira. You get an error for that. I'll explain that later. Okay, and yeah, or you even just want to put N in front, something like this. It gives you an error because those are not native to the system. So we'll talk about some of those symbolisms shortly. This is one way you can solve that problem. We'll talk about that shortly. All right, so the other one, you can also convert decimals to this text. All right, it looks like decimal 37%, but in actual fact, it's text. Okay, so you have this, and then there are cases where you want to have leading zeros, all right, to whatever number you're trying to convert. For instance, this is 71, but you want it to have 0 in front. For instance, case in point would be, let's say you are working with codes, maybe IDs and all of that, and you want them to appear this way. So this is one way you can also do that. All right, you put these zeros, all right, and then you have this hash text also. So the difference between them is that usually when you put zero as placeholders, all right, the text function, the conversion naturally will pad it with zero in front. Okay, when you put zero as a placeholder, like I've done here. All right, let me just take out the zero, and then this way you have 36. Okay, and let me do F9 and see if it gives me a very small number. Okay, it's not giving me a very small number, so I'll put it myself. Let's say 3. Okay, so it gives you something like this. However, if I had done something like, say, 0, 0, okay, for that, and then you put 0 in front of the 3, saying that the format I want is such that the output will have a leading 0. However, if it's a two-digit number, it will not add 0 to it in front. I think what I had there was around between 1 and I think 1,500. Okay, so it gives you this. But if the number is as low as, say, less than 10, then you have this. And of course, you can have multiple leading zeros up to like 4 in this case, give 0049. Okay, and then if the number is a very big number, then it won't pad it with 0. Just format it that way. So let me move on. And then you have fractions. Okay, you can also have fractions this way. This just fraction with those. You have the numerator and the denominator. This is the placeholder for that. You could use question marks for that. You could also use zeros for it actually. This way. Yeah, it still gives you the same results. So I think it's just out of learning using custom formatting in Excel, which is one of the things I would like to mention as we go ahead. And of course, you can have a fraction with two digits. For instance, this same number, 1.18348956, is what I have converted into a fraction here. Okay. Yeah, this is actually an improper fraction. Okay. And then this is also an improper fraction, but in this case now, it's two digits each. All right. So it's the same number, but you can see the type of conversion I'm seeing here. And this will help us understand what you are likely to see when you try to use this fraction this way. Okay. This is not going to divide this. This is text. Okay. So it's format that converted that. And of course, this is a mixed fraction where you have the whole number and then a proper fraction. So if you want to have that, this is how you do that. Okay. You can use a 0 as a placeholder for that. I could also use a question mark actually. All right. Oh, it doesn't take it. Okay, it will take it actually. Let me see. Yeah. So it's going to take that. You have the mixed fraction where you have the whole number and then the proper fraction behind it. Okay, so that's about fractions. And then we have times and dates. You can also use the text function to convert. One of the things you need to understand about times and dates in Excel is because Excel normally sees times and dates as numbers, all right? And it stores them as numbers, but usually what you see at the end of the day is just a format. Okay, so that's the difference between, that is why most of the time you see, oh, this is date and this is time, but implicitly they are stored as numbers. And let me give you an instance. 8 p.m. in Excel is actually 20 divided by 24. That's the 20th hour divided by the 24th hour. Okay, and this is how Excel will store 8 p.m. All right, and if I convert this to a time format, okay, so say text this, and then I'll use time format HHMM. You will see that that's what Excel has there, 2000. Okay, and of course, if I put AM PM behind it, okay, so it tells me, oh, this is 8 p.m. So this is what that's converted. So it stores them as number. The same thing with so everything is stored. Time is stored as a fraction of 24 hours. 1 minute is stored as a fraction of 24 hours. That means 1 divided by 24 times 60. All right. So that is basically how it does that. The same thing. So you can see this is one time format where you have HH. That's this hour a placeholder, colon, minute placeholder, and then you have AM PM because you want the result to come out as either AM or PM. If I do F9 again, let me see if it gives me an AM. Okay, yeah. So this is 8:44 AM. You can see that there, right? So it's actually I will convert that. Then the same time that you have up there in 24-hour format, this 1639, just put HHMM without the AM PM, and then it gives you that. Now the same thing with dates. All right, dates in Excel are also stored as the number of days from 1st of January 1900. Please don't go. I know some people, if you have done a little bit of Excel science, you have gone deep into what makes Excel, you may have some questions to ask you around that. You know, some will say it's 31st of December, year 1899. But let's just take it as the 1st of January 1900. So it counts the number of days from 1st of January 1900 till date. Okay, so that is how Excel stores numbers. And that's one of the reasons sometimes you see numbers appear this way. All right, you can see 44834. That's 44,834 days from 1st of January 1900 till this date. So that is how that is stored in Excel. So 30th September 2022, if you want to convert this to particular date, for instance, you have this appearing as numbers on your screen. Okay, for one reason or the other, you can also use the text function, you know, to place them. And of course, you can have other what's it called now? Other formats. So many of them that you can use. All right. So this is using DD triple M YYY, and then we have sorry, I'm seeing a lot of text coming, so I want to be sure that okay. So we have DDMMMYYY, that is that. And then, of course, you can also format using the day of the week, Friday, September 30. So any format you desire, as long as you follow the syntax for formatting dates, it will always come out. You can put the month before the day, you can put the day before the month, all of those. But, you know, as you practice with them, you become better at them, all right? So that's how you do that. And, of course, if you want to write the day in full, you can put 4 Ds here, all right, and then it gives you Friday. And of course, you want to write in September in full, 4 M's there, and then you see Friday, September 30, 2022. You want to remove this, okay, or you want to make it something like this. Let me take this out. All right, so that's basically how you take it around. And of course, if it's date time, here in this cell, I'm using the function now. All right, so just give us a current date and time, and then you can format that as you want. You can see these very long formats that you have there. So that's how the text function helps you to convert stuff, all right, from one format to another. The same thing you can do with decimals. Now it's going to get a little bit more interesting as we go from here. Now, this is where a lot of us are likely to use the text function more than any other thing. All right. So I have this number and I want it to appear as short as this 3.5K. That's for thousands. Or you have a big number like this and you want it to appear 1.14 million because that's how you want to put it in your report. Okay. Or this very huge number, you want it to appear in billions because this in billions, you want it to appear this way. All right. So you can also have such format. How do you do that? Okay. We will do a lot of this particular type in this session, but let me just show you how to do that here. So I have a text, okay, of this, and then the first thing is I'm so used to using zeros as my placeholder, so please forgive me for that. But like I mentioned, there are other items you can use as a placeholder. You can use the question mark, you can use the hash, but I'm so used to using zero, so please pardon me. All right, so 0. Now, if I leave it this way, what it does is it just gives me 13,915. But I want it to appear in thousands. So what do I do to make it appear in thousands? Basically, what I do is to add another comma at the end of, all right, of that, and then it appears this way. Okay, that's 14,000. But you will agree with me that this doesn't really make much sense. Okay, so one of the tricks here is just to add K to it, space and K. The formatting actually takes K implicitly because it's kind of built into it. But there are other ones, like you want to put M or B, it doesn't take those ones. And there are some tricks that we use so that it will take those. And that's one of the reasons we are here today. All right, I can make this also appear as 0 points. That was also 10.7K. So it gives you that. And you can see it does a very lovely rounding up from 10,665 to 10.7. Now, we want it to appear in millions. Just like we did for the thousands, what we just do is we have a number, 0 point. I want it to have 2 decimals. So that's, of course, you must always start with the double quotes, 0.00, and you add 2 commas at the end, comma at the end. Okay, let me take this one out first so that you can see how it works. So it has converted this number to 1.46. Now, how do I add millions? How do I let anyone know that this is in millions? Okay, so you might attempt to do this, and it gives you this error. Why? Because M is not a name. I mean, the value, that format is not understood by the system. So one of the tricks that you use for that is to now put what we call double quotes. All right, you put double quotes here in front of M, another one at the back. Don't forget that there is always the first quote and the last one, so every other thing stays in between. All right, don't forget this must always be double of this and double of that. All right, and then once you press enter, it stays there. So you have 1.16 M for that. All right, we'll do a lot of that as we go ahead. The same thing with the billions. This is converting this to billions. All right, so this will now be triple comma at the end of this. Okay, and then for the billions, you have the double quotes for the billions and the double quotes, and that's the end of it. All right, so this what I have showed you here will make a lot of difference in how you present your reports, and how you write some of the things that you write, how you set up some of your automations in Excel and prepare lovely reports for others to see. You agree with me also that when you send out a report and the numbers come out this way, it's not easily understood by the people who are looking at those numbers. But when you break them down and you put these units behind them, it helps them to quickly understand what the numbers are saying. It's difficult to quickly know that this number is actually in millions, all right? Except, of course, your IQ is hitting the roof and you can see it at a glance, but not everybody understands things like this so quickly. So your text formats can also help you achieve that. So that is that about that. And of course, for phone numbers, just like we have seen when we started, this is a Nigerian phone number, so I can start with the 234 in the bracket. So there are some text there are some what's it called now? Characters that are accepted in the formatting by default. All right, where it will not return error, all right, as when you put them. So I will not go so deep into that because of where we're going. So I will really encourage, I'll put the link for that also in the introduction, where you can see all of the characters that can be taken that the text function can take, and it will not return an error for you. So this is a formatting here, and then that's it. So you format it like this, put 234 in front, space, 3 hash, space, 3 hash, and this space, and that's it. Okay. And of course, if it's 0 if you wanted to start with 0, you can take this out and put 0 in front, and then it gives you this 0807 728 8155. That's actually the first line I ever used. Okay. So now let's get into something more interesting. There are cases where you are running reports and you want to show positive and negative numbers. Oh, when the numbers are positive, I want it to show this way. When the numbers are negative, I want it to show this way. One of the things you would have done is, let's say I have this number. I'm coming. Let me press F9. I'm so used to doing this. Okay, let me just do this. Okay, so I have this number. One of the things you are likely to be tempted to do is to say, oh, if this number is positive, this is what you do. If it's negative, this is what you do. Or let me use the exact definition. All right. So I'll just use that. All right, there you go. So if it's negative, you could be tempted to say if this is less than 0, then you do text. all right, text of this, okay, and you say you put 0 negative percentage, something like that, all right, and else you do text of this, okay, and then you put say positive 0%. Okay, this is, yeah, you actually get the same results. I mean, you're likely to actually get that result. But the challenge, let me take out this negative. Okay, so because I want the negative to actually appear in front, but the challenge here is that, look at this. But there is a better way to write this, a smarter way to write that, and that is using a text function where you can actually have more than one criteria. And this is where we also try to explain some of the things you see for some of us who have used custom formatting before. What I mean by custom formatting, right click, format cells, and then you see custom at the bottom here. You see all of these lovely things. So whatever you see here is actually the same thing as what we see in the text function, except that it doesn't show colors where you have red and all of that. All right, but basically the same principles that guide custom formatting. It's the same principle that guides text functions. All right, so that's that. It's basically the same principles that guide them. So I'm just going to show us how that works. So in custom formatting, you have 4 types of formats that you have in the custom formatting, and you separate them with semicolon. The first one is what we call positive values, semicolon. You have negative numbers. All right, this is how I want you to format positive, format negative like this, format 0 like this, and then you have the placeholder we use for text. Is any other thing that is text. This is how I want you to format it. Format this as text. All right. So those are the placeholders for. Let me put this there. All right. So those are the placeholders for formatting even in the text function. Okay. Separate them. So you have the positive, the negative, 0, and then the @ sign. So let's test this out. So if I want to say text, okay, of this number, and I want to say if it is positive, make it 0, put a plus sign in front of it, plus 0%. All right, I separate with semicolon. If it is negative, just put it as it is and put the negative in front of it. Normally, it won't put the plus. Let me stop here for now before I go to 0. Normally, it won't put this plus here. It will just come out this way, this 6%, all right? But I want to be able to see the plus sign in front to tell me that, okay, this is actually an increase, okay, in the number. So I can say, put a plus sign in front, and for the negative, put a negative sign in front. And then I have this. Oh, that's plus 50%. If I press F9, let's say the number goes negative. That's 100%. Come on, go negative. Yeah, that's minus 2%. All right, that's negative 2%. All right, so and that is the same principle that I've used for all of these ones that you see here. That helps me to be able to tell, oh, between May and June 2021, the numbers went up 62% month on month, and then negative 12%, negative 10%, and it went down for 2 consecutive months, and went up again by 58%, and so on and so forth till the end of the period that we're seeing. All right, so that is basically how you can also use the text function when you have positive and negative values. All right, next, multiple criteria, which is also a very, very lovely experience I can have doing this. First, before I go into that, let me copy that Naira symbol so that we can look at this together. Now, what you are looking at is I intentionally put custom formatting on conditional formatting on this so that you'll be able to see clearly that certain numbers are formatted as in thousands and others in millions. All right, and this in thousands, this in millions. Let me see if I press F9. All right, and you see this one is not formatted like the others. This is 77,977. It's not formatted in millions, but in this same cell, that I'm looking at this cell D15. If I press F9 again, You can see it has changed to 2.21 million. How did I do that? How are you able to do something like this? It's also having an understanding of custom formatting, how custom formattings work in Excel. And it helps you. So instead of writing those very long if statements, you say, oh, if this is if it is say less than 10,000, then give me the entire number. If it is 10,000 to say 1 million, then format it in millions or in thousands. If it is above 1 million, then format it in millions. Because there are cases you want to write a report. All right, maybe you are creating a dashboard or a report and an automated report, and then you want a situation where whatever the outcome of the number is, it is properly formatted. You don't have to keep going back to do that. Of course, you could write nested if, or you use the ifs function. You could use the ifs function to achieve the same thing, but there's a smarter way to do that with the text function, and that's what I'm about to show you. All right, so how do I ensure that this happens just the way I want it? So I'm going to do this text function of this. All right, and I'm saying to it to say, just watch me carefully. Of course, you start with this, and I'm using a square bracket to say, if the number, that's the number, right, is less than 10,000, no, 100,000. It's actually, if it's less than 100,000, close the square bracket. What is the format I want to give to it? This is the format. You do, sorry, I'll use 0 as placeholder. Please just forgive me for doing that. All right, so I just put 0, say, comma 0, something like this. Okay, of course, you could put hash, comma hash is the same thing. All right, then semicolon to space that. Then the next argument. You know, I told you that the first thing you usually have in the formatting is the positive, the negative, the 0, and then and text. But in this case, custom formatting and text formatting here take this argument from us to say, okay, if the number is also in another range, so if it is less than 1 million, how do I want to format it? All right, so I say less than 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Close that. What's the format for that? Don't forget what we learned the other time. This point, this or 0, and then I'm going to give it a K behind it. All right, so that is that. Okay, and then let me not put the K yet. Let me leave the K so that we don't get confused when we get to millions. All right. And then what if the number is above 1 million? How do I want to format that? You just give it the format you want straight up. So, okay, sorry, I'm supposed to put a comma at the end of this. Okay, that's that. So what if it's above 1 million? How do I want to format that? All right, so usually what I'll just do is to say this point 0, maybe 2 zeros for the millions, first comma, second comma, and don't forget double quote of M, double quote, and then the quote for the formatting, the entire formatting makes it the last one. Close that, and then gives me that 2.5 M. So if the number, and of course I can drag that all the way down. So, and you will notice here that when the numbers are below 1 million, it formats them as thousands automatically. And if the number, let me see a number that is not formatted, that's less than 100,000. Come on, give me a small number. Let me see. Okay, there's no small number. It's difficult to get small. Okay, I'll just type 1. So let's say, oh sorry, this is a random array. So even if it gives me a number that is so small, it's less than say 100,000. Okay, it's just going to give me the entire number as is. I have a good one here now. Look at this one. So 82,000. You can see 82,973. All right, it just gives me the number without any special formatting. Say 82,973. But if it's less than 1 million, it formats it at 939,000. And if it's above 1 million and above, all right, it formats it this way. So I don't need to write nested ifs to achieve this. With the text function, I can achieve this. And of course, it's basically the same syntax as what you would have done with custom formatting in Excel. And I think I'm almost done with everything. So now everything I've showed you so far, all right, you can always use them now to write smart analysis. All right. You have a report that you have to submit every month and all of that. And the table grows. Of course, the table may not be horizontal like you see it. Maybe it's a vertical table and you have a lot of stuff there. And then you want to be able to, automatically ensure that when people click on the dashboard, and then they change value, the filter dashboard and all of that, you want the numbers to update automatically. All right. So you can also always have a smart text, smart analysis like this, and then you have written a lot of codes inside it so that it's just like taking all of the learnings that we have done so far, and then you brought it into a smart analysis for your report, and it can really save you a lot of time trying to analyze that report every month, especially when what you write in the report does not necessarily change often. Now, how do you embed that? Now, before we go into putting all of these things together, one of the things I also like to mention is the fact that there are cases where you want to write something like this, says, oh, the period Q3 ended with total sales of 19.67 million. Of course, by now you understand how I got this. After a 16% increase over August, we predict a 3% decrease in October 2022, closing at 6.67 million. That's just interpreting all of these numbers. Now, if I press F9, watch this that says 26% increase. All right. If I press F9, you can see that's changed to 2% decrease over August. We predict 10% growth, and this has also changed to 10% growth. All right, in October, closing at this and all of that. So you now ask me, how do you write such so that automatically when the number is negative, the system can say, okay, there's a decrease. When it is positive, it tells me there's a growth and all of that. Like I mentioned, it's the same principle that we use to add the M to the millions that we're going to use for the increase and the decrease. And let me show you that. For instance, I have this, and this is my value. I'll take this value, all right? And I'm going to tell Excel, this is the first M. I'll say that if it's like a growth, all right? So just give it 0% space, and then you do your double quotes. I'll say, let me say growth. That's when the number is positive, double of that. But when the number is negative, what you do for me is just put this, all right, and then you double quote and say decrease, something like this. Double quote, and of course, quote for the entire format and close that. And there you have it, 15% growth, all right, 15% growth. So, in fact, you can put an entire sentence in this format. It's not just single words. You can put an entire sentence in this format where you think, oh, this is a sentence, this is something that stays. I don't have to, for instance, I can say growth in revenue, right? And I can come here to say decrease in revenue. So it doesn't have to be single words, and then it gives me, negative 3% decrease in revenue. And then when I press F9, and that becomes a positive, you can see 4% growth in revenue. So it automatically just switches them. So this is how you can also use the text function to now write things like smart analysis for your boss or whoever it is. And as your table grows, you don't need to rewrite it, because most of the time people are just interested in what you have written here and the numbers. There are people who prefer to just read through your tables, and there are those who just want to read this type of prose, and because the way people understand things differs, so you can just make provisions for all of them. And of course, the formula here is pretty much not really very clumsy if you take time to analyze it. So this is saying, the first thing I did was, of course, using the let function to define certain things, because I don't want to keep rewriting them in the body of the text. So last month, I use the text function to get the last month of the current period. So I'm saying date of today, that's for the previous month, and then you have YYY. Then next month, all right, that's the next month. You have this that's using eDates to also do that. And of course, current quarter. All right, so I use that to also get current quarter of today. That's divided by 3. That's month of today divided by 3, and then round up to 0, and then put a Q just for quarter, because the text here will normally just give me a number here. Then I can put Q in front, and then gives me quarter. And then you now concatenate using ampersand everywhere. Some people would rather use the concatenate function, but I think there's this agreement among the top people to say there's really no need for the concatenate and concat function when ampersand can really achieve that. So you just use ampersand to log them together. This period, and you can see current quarter, and then ampersand again. You have this quote of this to say ended with total sales of, and of course you format the sales for that period using your millions, and then you have ampersand again after a. So this one now tells you, is it an increase or a decrease? And when it is 0, you say no change. Okay, when it is 0, you say no change, and you keep going. Then you put last month, and so on and so forth. And when you're done with all of that, it comes out really nice like this to say the period quarter 3 ended with a total sales of 16.45 million. That's just the sum of this quarter. All right, this is July, August, September. That's what it added up to give you the 16.45 million. After a 8% decrease over August, all right, that's 8% decrease over August. We predict a growth in a 6% growth in October, closing at 5.78 million. So when you now put, this is actually a forecast. This is a forecast formula. That's why it's saying that. So, and then it says, oh, in October, based on our trend over time, we are predicting that this is where we're likely to have a 6% growth. Okay, over that. I won't go into the forecast formula this night. All right, so that's one of the ways you can also use the text function to really write very lovely, smart analysis. There are some reports I run in the office every month, and basically the only thing that changes are the numbers. Every other thing I really don't have to rewrite them, because let people just get used to that. Of course, you have to craft it very well so that it's something people will really love to read. Okay, and lastly, trend analysis. You are running trend. I've already showed you how we do this. Okay, I've already showed you that. And then you have these revenues coming in. These are the dates, and then you want to show month on month, year on year in your chart. Like I have seen here, you can see it's showing me in May. There's a 93%, 193% over the previous month, and it dropped by 11%, dropped again, and then went up and dropped again, and all of that. So you can also include all of this in your chart, so that you are seeing the absolute numbers, we are also seeing the change over time. So how do we include these in your chart? So I'll just take this out. Very simple, really. This is how to set up the chart. As you can see, all right, the division I did, I'm using array formula. So C4 to C20 divided by C3 to C19 minus 1. So it's just to say the current divided by the previous, and then I put them as array functions to tell us also that the text function can also work with array formulas. All right. So I have that, and it formats this, and it formats everything for me all at once. So I don't have to drag the formula down. So it's just to also let us see that it works with array formulas. And if I want to put this in a chart, all you need to do is just, once you set it up this way, highlight everything. Or let's start with this. Highlight this. All right, so it doesn't become confused. And then insert chart, quick analysis, charts. Let's put the wrong chart. All right, there you go. Okay, now how do I now include the positives and the negatives that I have here? So you go to select data, and this is where you do that in the horizontal axis label here. So we edit. You can see it's just highlighting. There you have your periods. I will just include the ones before it on it, and then there you have it. Okay, and then there you have your chart. So that is that. And of course, you can add value labels. Let's add value labels. Add labels. All right. So by now you already understand. Sorry for the dollars in front. You already understand the formatting for this. This one I'm using custom formats. These are not text. So this is not text. I'm using custom format for this. It's the same syntax, but I told you if you use text for this graph will not be able to plot it. Why? Because these are numbers, but I've only used custom formatting to make them look like they are like this. For instance, let me return them to the original state. Control Shift tilde. This the actual number. This is what the actual numbers look like. All right, and you can see the way they are appearing on the map on the graph. Of course, you can always right click and format the labels as you like. Here you can put custom and then write the codes as you like, but I think I already have a code that says if it's less than 10,000, like I did before, do this format and all of that, and then add that, and that's what I have on my graph. So despite the fact that these are numbers from here, I've used the same principle using custom formatting here. This is not text function formatting, this is just custom formatting, and then you have all of those. And of course, you can change the dollar sign, just copy the from wherever you can find it and then you put it here. But if this had been formatted as in millions, like I did before, sorry, I'm looking for format cells. So there you go. All right, so if that's been formatted like that, I'm sorry, I'm not really going to custom formatting this night, but it's the same principle. Here you go. So you have less than this is what you put there. Sorry, I wish I could zoom more. If it's less than a million, do it this way. If it's above a million, do it that way. I've already showed you that. And then bam, it gives you that. So you can see the way they are appearing all over this place. So that's how you plot this kind of chart. So that somebody says, so I want to also be able to see month on month, you know, how they are shifting. You can also use that in your chart. I'd like to stop here for now. Don't know if we have any question from anyone. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I've been talking to myself. Sorry, can you still hear me?
Yes, please.
Yeah, so I was asking, is this something you feel you'll be able to use in your routines, in your work? Is it useful to you? Because somebody just typed yes. Is there an area you want me to clarify, provide more explanation and all of that? I don't know. Anybody, anything like that? Okay. I think folks are just typing in the chat. Okay. So I think lastly, I would like to just talk about the okay. Sorry, I think I switched to my phone instead of this. All right, so the last thing I'd like to talk about, as I mentioned, is some of these new functions that you have in Excel, and you find them mostly in Office 365. They were not available for a while. I think they were just for insiders, but now they've released to all users, especially for people who have the subscription. And I really want to. I don't really have a lot of time. We have just 7 minutes left. Text please, text before, text after, array to text, value to text, and all of that. I really encourage us to explore these functions because the more you practice with them, the better you become at it, and then you're able to use them for a lot of stuff. You won't even believe what you are capable of until you start practicing with some of these functions. Let's say I have something like Excel at Microsoft MS.biz, something like this. All right. So I have a word like this, and I want to split them. I want the username different from the domain name. All right. I want to split them separately. So text split function can do that for us. I won't go deep into what the text split function does, but it takes quite a number of arguments. Victor Momo did a very lovely job of explaining text split and a whole lot of ways you can use that. Please look it up on YouTube. very lovely presentation there on the text split function. It's just a single video about the text split function. I think that was about 2 weeks after the release of the text split function to all users. So what this does is to help you split your data apart based on a delimiter that I give you. So the first argument you see there is a text, and then you have a column delimiter, row delimiter, ignore empty, match mode, and pad width. I won't go into all of that, but you must give it at least 2 arguments, text and column delimiter. But if you want to use the row delimiter instead of the column, you can also do that. But I'll just leave it at the column delimiter for now. So I want to split this between the username and then the domain name. So I'm going to split them on the @. So basically how you do that is to highlight the text, and then you say, what is the column delimiter you want to use? Okay, it's the @. Of course, you need to quote it. All right, that way. And then split them using the spill property. All right, so you have Excel, you have ms.bs. All right, so and you can also use more than one delimiter anyway. But let me not go into that. Please look at Victor Momo's presentation. And of course, if I want to take only the domain name, I want to leave every other thing. So you can use text before. All right, so I'll use text before. This is my text. So I want to pick everything before the @sign. All right, so text before the @ everything before the @ gives me just that. And of course, if I want to pick out the domain and then leave out username, I can use text after. We used to write very long formula to achieve this back then, but now things are kind of easier, and I guess it will get easier with time. So text after, all right, and then so it gives me just the domain name. All right, so that's how you use that. And of course, array to text, that means you have an array of numbers. Let me see, I have this array here. Let me just use my alpha beta. All right, so I have this array of numbers, all right, and I want to convert them to text. Usually what it will return is a single line of text, just on a single row. You see everything on a single row. So how do I use array to text to do this? All right, so you have array to text. This is just an introduction to tell us that these things exist. Really, array to text takes 2 arguments. You have the array and the format, but the format is in square brackets, so that means it's not compulsory, it's optional. All right, so if you just give this to array, the next thing you will see is to convert them to something and separate them with comma. Of course, that brings you to text join. This is another function that came in not too long ago, text join, which you can also use to achieve something like this. All right, but the value to text also does something similar. Value to text of this, you can see the default for that is also something like this. But if we give it, this is what it has done is, if these were numbers, they would have come out as text. They will no longer, it will still be an array, but they will be text. They will not be numbers anymore. All right. So, and this can also take another argument that says, oh, do you want them concise or you want them strict? By default, they are concise. If you want them strict, okay, it puts quotes on them. So that's what value to text does. Let me put a transpose on that. So that transpose. Okay, so I have this. The same thing with array to text. It also takes argument. The default is concise, but if you want it strict, just put 1 there as strict. It gives you this. All right. And one of the reasons I like this is sometimes when I need to create some implicit lists in Excel for, maybe I'm trying to create a named range for something like this. So I can just easily copy this in Notepad and then use it for other things. For instance, this is what I mean. And sometimes I just love to do something like this. So I'll copy that. So I want to create a named range so that it will always be this alpha, beta, delta, etc. So named range, say name list. I'll just call it name list. I'll say what's this. All right. So what I copied is what I have here, separated with semicolon and all of that. And say okay. That's it. So anytime I need it and I say my name list, it comes out like this way. So it's one of the ways I really love to use array to text a lot. When I need to just have implicit list, I also need them for certain formulas and all of that. So it's one of the use cases I have for that. And of course, text join. This one has been around for a while. The first thing it asks you, how do you want to delimit them? I want to delimit them with let's say with a pipe, okay, and space. To ignore empty and leave that blank. I know what are my texts. I like all of them, and then you have this. So you have alpha pipe, beta pipe, and all of that. You can use any other delimiter for them. So those are some of the text functions that some of the text functions that have the name text in them. There's also another one called bar text actually, but I don't think I've used that. So it's to convert to a bar or something. And of course, there are several other functions that work with only text, but a lot of these ones return results that are text. Text split can also work on numbers, like I mentioned earlier, that Excel can implicitly work on those. For instance, I have a number like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I want to split them from 2. All right. So text split can also do that magic for you. All right. So what's the column delimiter is 2. All right. So you can have 1 on one side and 34 on the other side. Okay. So text can also convert this. The same thing with text before, text after, and all of that. So that's that about using the text function. Don't know if you guys have any question. Nobody has been asking questions, but I hope this has been very, very useful for you guys. I'll drop the. Okay, somebody says, what's the difference between value to text and transpose? Okay, so the difference between them is that remember when I use value to text, let me take this one out. Okay, let me do it here. Value to text. When I did value to text, when I did value to text on this, okay, it just returns this array in a column. I want it to return them in a row. All right. So that's why I put transpose on it. So transpose now, something that is supposed to be in column will be returned as a row. If it was in a row, it can return it back as a column. So transpose, can help you rearrange your array, of values from column to row or from row to column. So that's why I put transpose on it, so that it will appear on a row like this. So it doesn't really have anything to do with the text function. All right. Thanks a lot for that, Mohammed, the humble. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining. The video, I'll send the link to the video in the group. And if you have any questions, please, this is a very live group. You can always drop your questions. There are more than enough guys in the house to help you sort these things out. Thank you so much once again for being part of this. I really appreciate it. Thank you.